Hi, welcome to Tales from the Sky Lounge. It's a podcast about business, consulting, and venture investing, where we talk to people who are getting out there in the world and making this stuff happen. Today in the Sky Lounge, we have Jay Kleinman. Hi, Jay. Welcome to the Sky Lounge.
Todd, how are you today?
Hey, doing well.
Great.
Jay, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Happy to be here. Thanks for including me. Jay Kleinman. I'm a longtime biz dev and sales strategy guy, primarily in the healthcare space. Been doing this about 30 years. Worked for some large organizations like Tenet Healthcare or WPP companies that are in the communication space. Helped Tenet launch a revenue cycle business about 8 years ago called Conifer Health Solutions. That was probably my biggest, most well-funded startup that I ever did. And over the last 10 years, really been spending most of my time in early stage companies, venture-backed companies in the healthcare space and analytics and SaaS and in the services side. So I've been in it a while, mainly, again, focused on commercializing businesses, go-to-market strategies, and direct sell.
Awesome. Early in your career, did you have any mentors that particularly helped you along the way?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Everyone thinks about business mentors that they've had. We talked offline and about the fact that I was at Auburn and played football at Auburn for a couple of years, and had the fortune to play for Pat Dye, who was the head coach when I was there. What was really interesting about Coach Dye was he was really a massive team person. Everybody did this together. That there really was not much individuality and certainly had individual accomplishments, but it was done as a result of great execution of the team. And that's really where I learned a lot about not only depending upon others, but making sure others could depend on me, and being reliable, being trustworthy, and Coach Dyer really had a lot around that. I mean, a funny story about we're all in it together was we got back from the summer one year, and several of our linemen were a little bit heftier than Coach Dye wanted them to be. Mm-hmm. So when we came in for dinner after practice, he had a table set up with all their names in front of these plates where they got boiled chicken and rice because he wanted them to lose weight. What was funny about it is he made all the heavy coaches sit at that table with them as well. And the reason was to send a very clear message that just was not tolerated it anywhere inside an organization. So if he set an expectation for you, he set it for everybody. And that really built some amazing camaraderie and that trust and that reliance on everybody. So it was entertaining, but the message was well received, I can assure you.
Yeah. I had asked you before, it's fascinating to me, particularly in sales. I don't know what it is. You end up with a lot of pretty competitive people that gravitate towards sales, I think. And then I asked you about, the football and the competitive nature. You said, D1 is kind of another level, right? And everybody's kind of already naturally competitive, but you had some insights into like, what's the difference between just kind of competitive and like truly D1 Auburn in 1984, championship football.
No, I think that, losing was expected. You were in an environment where you were expected to, and you expected to win. So it wasn't about worrying about whether or not you're going to lose. It's worrying about how you could be better, what you could do better, how you could support more. So that's kind of the attitude that I've brought into business is I expect and know that I can win, but I can't do it by myself. And how do I embrace my clients or support teams, whatever, to help me win? Because when I win, they win. And, I like to think that a lot of my practice at TechCXO, where I'm helping these early stage companies, and TechCXO has the ability to get into these companies early stage and bring some really incredible talent and acceleration, in a variety of areas. But that's a big part of it. What I think we do, what I do, is we're kind of like this intersection between grit and value, where there's a lot of hard work, but there's a lot of value that comes out of it. And we're not afraid to do both of those things, to deliver the value and the hard work. I think that's really what came out of that D1 experience. It was about grit, it was about winning and knowing that you could win.
Mm-hmm. And so it's just a foregone conclusion that, yes, we're going to win, but how can we get better every week?
That's right.
And do the work. And then it sounds like it's you're in a team, and relationships are a big deal.
Yeah. Oh, relationships are very massive.
What a great experience, though, to have gone through that. That's amazing.
It was.
So what are you working on today? What interesting problems are you facing out there in the market?
Yeah, I mean, the healthcare space is ever changing, and it's it's recession proof. It's this proof. The fact is as long as people are alive, there's going to be healthcare. I think what I'm really focused on is all these dramatic changes that are going on in healthcare. There's a lot of push on improving quality. There's a lot of push on lowering costs. There's a lot of push around improving access. And there are a lot of really great organizations out there that are addressing these needs, that have great ideas and great product, but need help in understanding, what is a good go-to-market strategy? What is a good product market fit? How's my best way to commercialize this business, especially when they early stage and early capital. Their investors expect performance. They have a tendency to take that money and maybe try to boil the ocean, right? They're going after just too much, and they're losing focus, or they're opportunistic, and they think, well, this is the deal that I need to just get this deal in. I do several deals that really aren't on mission, and they end up with 4 or 5 clients that aren't really doing the same thing. And that's hard on business as well. So really working with these early stage companies to give them strong commercial focus, know why they're going after, who they're going after, what's the right message, what's the right product market fit, which really ends up making you work smarter instead of harder, which I think is a big challenge for early stage companies.
So, I started a couple companies as a technical founder, and I've seen lots of other people do the same thing. And then, you can athletically get from, 0 to 1 customers, maybe a couple, 3 customers, and then at some point things change, right? There's only so many people in your Rolodex that you can beg, borrow, steal. So what, hopefully I met, a guy like you, and then you come in, what do you say to that founder that has had some initial success? It looks pretty promising on the product market fit, and, what systems do you go for? And then how do you, what do you look at first? And what's the critical inflection point there look like from your seat?
Yeah, I think that, like you said, a good founder will go out and they can maybe land a couple of deals. I think you have to look at what are the structure of those deals? What's the quality of those deals? Are they on the value proposition that you're trying to get out there? And then are they referencing?
Yeah. A lot of times they're not, right? They're just kind of like, we just do a deal to do a deal so I can get revenue, right?
Right. So you have to look at what's the value of that deal to help you get other deals, right? And so in talking with the founder, you want to look at those deals, see if they're referenceable, right? There's nothing better to grow a business than a referenceable client. And then explaining to that founder, okay, well, you've got these deals. Why were they important? And I really like to spend more time with my clients talking about the deals that they've won, not the deals that they've lost, right? You want to do postmortem. Let's talk about the deals you won, why you won them, what was done right, and then how do you exploit that moving forward? And that's where I really work with founders. How did you get those deals in? What was the message? And then take that into, a segmentation model where you're really going to stratify your clients to know who you're going after, why you're going after them, what the message is, how you leverage nuances of those deals that you've already got to drive value to those prospects that you're chasing. And it helps you have focus, and it helps you accelerate the sales cycle.
So talk about segmentation. That's an interesting discipline, right? So you go in, you say, I've got a couple deals. Why did we win this one, and this one? And then who's willing to talk about it, I guess. Or maybe referenceability is not necessarily just talking about it, but it's a blue chip customer. Right. So what kinds of things do you look for in terms of, you got the whiteboard with a bunch of Post-it notes on it? What is a segment, and then how do you coach people to think about that?
Yeah, I think you've got to go through an exercise of who would be your best customer, by segment. In healthcare, is it it's the insurance company, it's the payers. Okay, great. Well, which payers? Is it by size? Is it by geography? Is it based on need? And you really go through an exercise where you're going to literally rank those prospects based on the value you can bring to them, their ability to buy, how well your product fits within, let's say, some of the things that they've got in mission, which requires research. You've got to go out and look at those prospects and see if they're talking about the things that align with what you're trying to provide. And then once you do that segmentation, then you're going to look at each of those in your top 2 tiers and understand, okay, well, who at those organizations are we calling on? And what's the message that we want to give them? Because the CFO of an organization may not buy for the same reason that the CMO may buy, the chief medical officer may buy. And so you've got to really work on your message, your value prop, and even, stratify and segment to some extent who within the organization is your champion, who's your influencer, who's your buyer. Otherwise, your famous term in sales, you're spray and pray, which just didn't work. We talked about this a few minutes ago, Todd, is that volume is not necessarily what wins in sales anymore. The most calls or the most knocks on the door or the most emails. It's gotten, your prospects are getting hundreds of touches a day. You've got to figure out a way, how are you going to differentiate yourself? How are you going to do something that makes your prospect feel special or that you know something about them? That's really the key to getting some of this acceleration.
So, I typically sell software, not necessarily healthcare, but, so there's been a lot of sales automation. You see this AI, making content marketing practically free. So you get an ever increasing volume of automation heading your way. How do you stand out in a crowd now? Like, what do you think? How are you thinking about this, and how do you differentiate you and your message as you go in and try to open up new accounts for your clients?
I'm a fan of AI if you use it in the right way. The amount of time that it can reduce in doing research and learning about your prospect or the people at your prospects. I think the thing that makes a difference is when I reach out to you and I know something about you or about your company, that maybe I was able to extract through AI or through other research. You're going to probably at least give me a chance to read 2 more sentences of what I'm doing, as opposed to just, a blanket, the typical email campaign. So I like AI, and I use it, but I'm careful with it as well, right? I'm using it for research. I'm using it for understanding. I don't have it writing content for me or anything like that, because it's only as good as the information that's been put into the environment. And so you've got to fact check it. You've got to know it. So you got to be very careful about how you use it. But I think the short answer is you have to know something about your prospect and the person that you're reaching out to at a personal level that will make a difference. It says this person cares enough to want to reach me directly and engage.
So it comes back to a personal connection and authentic conversations. It seems like it always does, right?
Yeah.
At some point you gotta sell, to a person from a person.
Yeah. I mean, I would rather spend my time trying to find people I know that are connected to someone I'm trying to get to and reach out to them and try to help them or have them help me make that connection than to sit here and just blast away email after email after email, hoping that someone's going to click on it.
I had an opportunity to be a mentor a couple years back and talked to a ton of very smart, college kids. And we're sitting around a table and I said, hey, hit me up on LinkedIn. And they all kind of went, what? So, I said, it's not going to matter now. And I know you guys all text each other or Snapchat or whatever the new hot tool is. But in 5 years, 10 years, you're gonna wish you had, maintained contact with people. What is how important is a tool like LinkedIn for you? And then how do you think about your curating your network?
Yeah, I think look, LinkedIn is an amazing tool. It's a great and it's not only its adoption, but its sustainability actually has been pretty amazing. I mean, the business community has really adopted well to LinkedIn. They see its value and their loyalty is incredible. And I think part of it's because most folks that use LinkedIn the way we do are pretty respectful about it. They don't use it for a bunch of spam or other types of worthless research and worthless outreach. They're really using it very strategically. And those like us that engage in it are willing to take those types of outreaches because they really are. One thing you have to think about when you're like working with connections or doing all this, what's my relationship capital? And you don't want to burn through your relationship capital. I think LinkedIn and sites like that allow you, and I'm sure there are people who are, but I think what it allows you to do is get a very safe environment where you can really leverage your relationship capital, and people are willing to engage with you on that because they know you'll do it in return.
Yeah. How many times do you think in the last couple months somebody's reached out to you and said, "Hey, I see you know so and so from such and such company. Do you think you could provide an intro for me?"
Yeah, I don't get nearly as many of those as I do from some recruiter asking me to refer him. It's good.
Do you need to hire?
Yeah. That's kind of that relationship capital piece where it's like, you see it. But I would say, probably 2 or 3 times a month, someone's reaching out saying, "Hey, this person's in my network. Do you know them?" I need to make sure I know that person that's reaching out to. Because remember, Todd, the thing that's critical about that is that when you do that, your name is affiliated with that as well. Name is all you got. And when you look at whether it's references or product or search or whatever, your name is what you've got. You got to make sure that that's protected as much as possible. So even though I do it and I ask and people ask me, I'm still very careful about who or how I'm affiliating my name with or what type of opportunity I'm going.
Definitely. Well, I'm glad you're on Tales from the Sky Lounge. That says a lot.
No, I was a player. I love it.
Yeah. So, we talk about your different roles and everybody's got lots of 3-letter acronyms like CMO could mean medical or it could mean marketing, right? So you've been CSO, not security, right? CRO and CGO, so talk about what are those things and then what's the difference between those, as an example.
Yeah. I mean, I think your CSO, your chief sales officer, not chief strategy officer, although it could be chief strategy officer. But your chief sales officer is really, he's just your head of sales. He's your VP of sales, he's your SVP of CM. There's all those, like I said, those 3-letter acronyms. But he or she's your head of sales. They're responsible for, leading a sales offer. They may do it with or without a team, right? I mean, they just, their goal is drive revenue. A chief revenue officer probably is someone who's got a team, right? They've got a team of folks. It's just kind of one step up. In terms of, it's still primarily focused on revenue growth. They typically may have a biz dev person that's working for them that's looking for strategic partnerships and things like that. And then the chief growth officer is someone that really owns everything that's a revenue contribution. So they own sales, they own channels, they own biz dev, and they own marketing, which, and I've been, in all those roles. And again, here at TechCXO, the beauty of that is that we provide a vehicle where someone that's got experience like I do to go into an early stage company that needs this type of talent sooner in their life cycle than later and really deliver value to help accelerate, whether it's just sales or whether it's extended sales or it's the whole growth side, which would include marketing. And they get, again, it's that intersection of grit and value. They get hardworking folks that deliver tremendous value. Typically what might be unaffordable if you're trying to hire someone outright with the level of talent that I think we bring to the table.
Yeah. What, when you're setting up these early systems for people, a lot of times we talk about, okay, our KPIs, what success metrics do you like to look at in terms of, because early there's not a whole lot of sales. How do you know when you're catching fire, and how do you measure that? It's more about growth than actual top line number at some point, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, top of funnel growth is key, right? How are we going to put as many deals in the pipeline as we can that are legitimate? I'm big on truth in reporting, by the way. So I probably am slower to put something in the pipeline than other organizations are, but I don't like taking things out of the pipeline either. And so, I really want to make sure that, so part of it is looking at, let's say, marketing qualified leads, right? Who are folks that engage with you? They're downloading content. Maybe they saw you at a trade show. Yeah, you're doing some additional outreach to them. And how do you convert them to a sales qualified lead? So I think those are key metrics. How how well are you doing marketing? How well can you get people engaged? What do those metrics look like? And how well can you convert them into a sales qualified lead, which means they're in the pipeline. And now you're really doing your discovery. You're trying to solution for them. You've identified a common use case, and you're driving towards being able to provide a service or product to them. So you look at conversions. You look at meetings. How can you get new meetings? How well are those meetings going? Are you talking to the right people at those meetings? I would rather have a salesperson that's getting less meetings with the right people than just getting meetings for the sake of getting meetings.
Yeah.
And so quality matters as well. What's the quality of those meetings? So you're looking at those. And then proposals. How well can you convert? So that's typical stages in the deal pipe. How well you converting those proposals. And then when you lose a proposal, why'd you lose it? Was it too early? Had you done enough work? One of the things that I'm working on with one of our partners, Kemp Maxwell, Todd, is this discovery-based selling training that we're working on, which really helps you look at, going through the pipe, doing the right things from discovery, from qualification and all that. So you can bring a prospect through the pipe a little bit better, and you're not worried about price early on when price is really the fact you need to be dealing with later. So
bring them through a consultative type sale.
Exactly.
Hey, let's just walk together for a little bit, and I think there's a fit here, and here's why there's a fit.
And establishing common goals, right? Making sure that you've got alignment all the way through the process, and that you don't move to the next stage unless you've got that firm alignment for your prospect. Yes, this is what I want to do. Yes, this is where I want to go. Yes, I have the ability to buy, or I'll bring the buyer forward, whatever the case may be.
So, so that's interesting. So it sounds like you've taken all years of experience and then put it into kind of a methodology where you can then transfer it. I love saying, the definition of a leader, a true leader, is somebody that can create other leaders, kind of like Nick Saban, creates, unending number of like great head coaches. So it sounds like kind of what you're doing is you're taking, the standard process that you've earned, that knowledge, and then putting in a package and saying, hey, just, take this, turn the crank. And then, so what does that look like when you come across a new entrepreneur that's early stage? How do you jump in with them?
Well, I would start by saying the likelihood that I reference anything Nick Saban does is probably pretty low.
Wrong part of Alabama, right?
But it really is. It really is about being methodical in the commercial process. I think that's exactly the point that you're making. Is every action has a consequence. Let's say, and it's a good or a bad. So why are you doing that action? What's the anticipated consequence? How is it going to help you? Could it hurt you? I think that, again, especially founders who are super smart and brought an amazing product to market, but haven't really commercialized something before, just, believe that people are going to take their call. Why wouldn't someone take my call? I've got a great product. My value, they should know my value. And it's really a little bit of edification and somewhat a little bit of humility, quite frankly, to make them understand, look, you're one of many. I'm not trying to make you feel like you're not special, but you're one of many. And it's not about how great your product is. It's how well you can resonate to the value of your prospect. You already know the value of your product. All you do is talk about your features and your features and your features and your features. You're not delivering any benefit or value to your prospect. And to that prospect specifically, it's a challenge. So you put a method in place. Who are we calling on? Why are we calling on? What's the message? What's the value? And how do we bring them along? And then you get into, your other stuff where we're going to negotiate on price. What's the value of a logo? That's the other thing you work with these founders is, some logos have a lot of value, and you're willing to kind of sacrifice some revenue, and your investors get that. I think a lot of founders are really worried about the investors or what the investor thinks. The investor wants you to be successful. So getting logos and sacrificing revenue for logos, sometimes I think some investors are okay with that because it turns into a referenceable client, and then you grow from there. You don't have to cut the same deal for everybody.
So when you go out to market and you talk to prospects, a lot of people will make a phone call and that's it. What's the importance of follow up, and then how do you think about how many touches you have to touch a customer, and then maybe different channels that you have to touch them on, and then maybe you just have to be present when they're ready to buy. Just because you're ready to sell doesn't mean they're ready to buy, right?
Yeah, when I worked for J. Walter Thompson back in the marketing advertising space, we used to always talk to our clients about, someone needs 7 to 10 impressions before they actually remember you or engage with you. So I do think that staying in touch with folks is important. But I think you have to have a reason to be in touch. So I'm writing to check in as an easily dismissible email. But content, or again, I saw an article that you were referenced in, or I saw something your company was referenced in, or I saw something that's within your mission, and thought that always having ancillary value to try to engage in. I think if it's pure cold, those are the hardest ones, and those are the ones where you need to keep it short, keep it sweet, be specific, be personal, bring something specific to them. If it's warm, then you need to be a little bit gentler, but leverage the relationship that brought you that introduction. But again, still drive towards value. Just because I referred you isn't going to be enough for your prospect to buy. You're gracious enough to refer me, but I still need to understand what's the value I'm bringing to the table. But I think you just have to. Sometimes you got to relent. I mean, look, it gets down to that. So, I think a big mistake in sales is you have 80% of your time is spent on 20% of your prospects, and so you've got to find a balance out there. And I think the challenge is when someone looks like they're about to say yes, you suddenly neglect your pipeline because you want to focus on that yes. You've got to balance that.
Yeah, and so you've sold SaaS and healthcare services. So are there any differences between the approach to market when you're selling different kinds of things, or is it kind of the same fundamentals?
I think the fundamentals are the fundamentals, right? I think that's the key part. That if you do those things well, and then understand your product, and understand who your buyer is, that's key. But with SaaS, what I found is interesting is that typically in SaaS, you're selling to someone who has an internal customer that's using it. They may not, and so where I think a lot of folks may fall down in SaaS is they're selling to the SaaS guy about, it's this great software, it's easy, it's fast, it's 99% uptime and all that type of stuff, which delivers no value to who they're trying to service, right? With SaaS, going out and say, okay, I was a clinical analytics doing rising risk, but I had to sell through the data channel, saying to those guys, your care managers don't know who to call next. My software tells them who's at the greatest risk of disease, who's going to be the highest cost, and they can easily walk into their desktop, turn it on, and get a list of people that they need to reach out to today. And it provides zero value, operational value to the data guy, except it gets his customer happy. That's the biggest thing.
Sometimes your customer is not your customer.
Right.
And those are complicated sales, right? And you have to understand, or else you're not going to make the sale.
Yeah. Well, and as soon as that guy says, that makes sense, let me bring that champion into the conversation, you have massive win.
So you mentioned complex care delivery and getting through some of those issues. And I know you're involved with some elder care. Can you talk through that? And then so, when you get older, everything starts breaking down. And then, we're probably relatively healthy, but some people have a complex series of diseases. What changes as what's special about elder care?
I think what's interesting is there are, and you've probably heard too, there are claims out there that the person who's going to live to be 130, 140 years old is already alive, has already been born. mean, I don't want a 140-year-old liquor, right? I mean, that's kind of the thing. It was that may be great, but everything still ages, and so now we have a massive already aged population and an aging population. Tens of millions of people that are turning Medicare or turning Medicare age at over 65. But they are living longer. So that drives up costs, and being able to provide complex care management to those that are, sick is actually getting easier. I think with digital health, and the ability for someone not to have to leave home in order to see a physician, not need to leave home in order to receive durable medical equipment or prescriptions or whatever. I'm not proposing that these folks don't get outside, but some of the sickest of the sick is very dangerous to take them out, to stand them up, to walk them, to move them apart is risky because they fall or it's just they're frail. Being able to see, a physician or a caregiver or work with a care manager, in a digital environment, I think is going to be a game changer. What's interesting about that is that 5 years ago, 6 years ago, if you told me, listen, we're going to treat your folks who, were in their 80s at the time digitally, you'd say there's no way. But COVID changed the whole picture. COVID, if you want to see your grandkids, if you wanted to talk to your family, if you wanted to conduct business, you had to figure out how to engage. So the argument that the aged aren't willing to digitally engage is just wrong. As long as you make it easy, right? Simple click, good connection, an easy conversation. They're willing to do that. They do care about their care. It's just hard. It's hard to be old. We've had aged parents in watching, but I think the advancement of medicine, the advancement of MedTech and digital health are really going to make access easier and potentially, at least at a minimum, improve quality of life and improve the ability for someone to stay home longer. And, the elder care company I'm with has that's one of my clients, Together Senior Health, has a digital live streaming digital solution for people with Alzheimer's and dementia. It's a clinically evidence-based solution that's done just in a Zoom environment, a very, very friendly environment for this population. And they can stay home. And the program, which is based on body awareness and mindfulness, and actually, which is interesting to digress a little bit, is all in Alzheimer's and dementia. While it's hard on the brain, it does not impact muscle memory as much as it impacts other parts of the brain. If you can activate muscle memory, it actually activates other parts of the brain. It can slow progression. It can improve balance. It can reduce behavioral stressors. And so our program really works on activating muscle memory. So even if, God forbid, you have dementia and can't remember if you have breakfast or not, if I taught you how to stand up and sit down in a chair, you'll remember how to do it.
So we all need to get into chair yoga or or pickleball or tennis or something.
Yeah. Physical activity is critical for brain health. There's no question.
Huh. How do you think about things like home health and then, delivery? Like, I don't know if like DoorDash or Uber Eats or things like that, are those helpful for some of these folks that are, hard to move and it can't really get out? They can take advantage of the telemedicine. Can we help them in other ways? Bring the care to them
for sure
in place.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you're going to see more and more, and I think even CMS is getting involved in a little bit more tighter regulations around home health. I think home health probably has had a kind of a bad reputation over the years, probably just from the movies more than anything. Home health givers are a godsend. Someone that's willing to come into your loved one's home and provide care, support, all that is amazing. And I think supported by, Amazon and DoorDash and Uber Eats for folks that have limited access or limited ability to access is significant. I mean, Meals on Wheels were geniuses, right? They were the first ones that realized that you've got to bring something to the to the indigent or to the aged or whatever. I think it's a smart model. It's really, really cost-effective model, and the impact on the clinical outcomes, the impact on quality of life, the impact on costs is dramatic.
Well, you're in Dallas, and I know you got a really good airport there. You got any great travel stories from the road?
Yeah, it's funny. My great travel. So I am in Dallas, which means I'm beholden to American Airlines. I think I was looking in preparation for this. I think I have something like 2.7 flown miles on American in my career, which puts me in an interesting step. Not quite an executive platinum, but I am platinum. But so normally when I walk up, I look at the upgrade list. I'm number 42 on the upgrade list with 2 seats available. You know how that is.
Oh yeah.
But, I would say 2 things. One is the Admiral's Lounge at LAX is one of my favorites. It's a spectacular. I don't know if you've been in there, but it's on the 2nd floor. It's glass all the way around. It's really amazing. I've never seen a movie star in there, but it's an amazing lounge. But I would say one of my greatest travel stories actually was on an American. I was flying from Dallas to Atlanta on Delta, and the captain of our flight was his last flight.
Oh, wow.
And we landed in Atlanta and diverted onto a taxiway that was lined with fire trucks who sprayed hoses over the top of the plane.
Wow.
It was really amazing. And what I thought about as I was getting at the time, it was just spectacular. It was really amazing to see how well that guy was treated. When I thought about this was, I wonder if Delta still does that. I wonder if their team still matters as much to them now as it did back then. Because I just think, man, it feels like we all grind really hard and we all get beaten a little bit more. But a culture like that, I mean, it's the reason why Delta is who they are. I hope they still are that way. But it was really an amazing experience.
Wow, very cool. Well, how can people get in touch with you after this on the internet?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So I'm on LinkedIn, just Jay Kleinman. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can reach me at my email, which is just j.kleinman@TechCXO.com. And if you email me, I'll email you back. And that's probably the best way to find me.
Well, it's been great having you in the Sky Lounge today, and bye for now.
Thanks, Todd. Really enjoyed it. Appreciate being with you.
Thanks for joining us in the Sky Lounge. Please like and subscribe to hear more from Tales from the Sky Lounge here and anywhere else you get your podcasts.